Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk on the Sedra of Lech Lecha, which we continue to dedicate to the safe return of all of the hostages taken and being held in Gaza, and to the refuah shalema, to the complete recovery of anybody who was injured in the heinous attack on our people, and to the safety and protection of all of the soldiers in the army who are bravely protecting us on all frontiers, and all of the people of Israel, wherever they may be. And as we look always at the words of the Sedra, they speak to us completely up to the minute and give us words of encouragement in advice that nothing else possibly can. And the few opening verses of this week's Sedra, if we've read them every year and they've resonated and we found them meaningful, I think this year they acquire new levels of intensity and relevance. And if we just start looking at these verses, chapter 12, verse 1. Vayomer Hashem el Avram, Lech Lecha me'artzecha u'mimolodtecha u'mibeis avicha. And Hashem said to Avram, go for yourself from your land and from your birthplace and from the house of your father to El Haaretz Asher Areka, to the land that I will show you. And stopping a moment there, this is the first command conversation that Hashem has with the father of many nations, Av Hamon Goyim, which is the title of Avraham Avinu. He is our father, but he's also the father of many nations. And the 11 chapters until this point have been universal, talking about the creation of the world, the creation of mankind. But now we are setting off on a path of the story of what will become the Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, beginning with our forefather Avraham Avinu. And so, what is the first thing that Hashem says to Avram, as he is called at this point? He is also known as Avram HaIvri, and this is the origin of the word Hebrew, and it also means from Aver, from the other side, that Avram Avinu was prepared in his adoption of monotheism, in his recognition of the one creator who continues to be involved in every aspect of life for all time. And he put himself on the other side of humanity. And I think that sometimes as his descendants, at certain points in our history, we have felt that more keenly than others. And I think that now we can, in some ways, feel that we are on one side as we are looking evil in the face and praying for Hashem's help in the struggle against this evil. And so we have our ancestor who is trailblazing in this quality of not swimming with the tide, not going with the prevailing customs, but recognizing the good of Hashem, the good of the creation, and really going forward in a way to enhance those and bring everything that we have to make them all even better. And the first message that Abraham receives, Lech Lecha, which in many translations, and we've often spoken about the problem of translation, is go for yourself. But actually, Le is a preposition that means to. And although the Rashi comments and explains that this is something that even though Hashem is telling Avraham Avinu to pick himself up and go to what is at this point an unspecified destination, that it is going to be for his benefit. Latovascha, for your good, ulahanascha, and for your benefit. So that is one explanation of lecha, lech lecha. But another deeper explanation that is suggested by the Al-Sheikh is the perhaps more literal translation of la, to. Go to yourself. And this is going inside to your deepest essence, connecting with that soul part, with the spark of Hashem that is within every human being, and we are on a journey towards that core, towards that center. And if we look at the categories that are given here, so it's Artsacha, from your land, and then we have Moladeshacha, from your birthplace, and then we have Beis Avicha, from the house of your father. And this concept of leaving behind the land that you were born, it is uh, meant on a physical level, a physical journey. You will, in reverse order, perhaps leaving first the things that may be easier to leave behind, the place that you were born, and then slightly the land that you were born, and then the actual perhaps city and district that you're leaving, and then hardest of all comes your family home that you leave behind when you go on this journey. But on this deeper explanation of journeying into yourself, the interpretation, seeing the common letters in the word Eretz and Rotzon, Eretz meaning land, and the Resh and the Tzadi that are common to them, Rotzon meaning your will, your desire. And so on this journey towards your deepest, purest point, you will have to leave your urges, your perhaps instinctive desires. And that's not easy. We are born with instincts, and we are created as human beings, and we have certain drives, and we have certain physical, hormonal, physiological parts of us that in different people will take them in different directions. But we are being told, Lech, you can rise above it. You can rise above Moladetecha, the place where you were born, perhaps the environment of the people that are around you. They influence you. They are an important part of your life, and we have talked in the past about nature and nurture. But again, you can rise above that. And then the Beis Avicha, your family, your upbringing, your personal gene pool, all of these things, absolutely fundamental parts of our existence, but we are not defined by them. And there is a possibility on this journey that we are taking, that we are making, we can, without pretending that they're not there, and without underestimating the challenge of rising above all of these things, we can do just that. And very fascinating, there was an article in this week's Times a few days ago by somebody called Robert Sapolsky, who is a neurobiologist in Stanford University, and in a claim that has serious consequences for the criminal system. He is saying, as others have said before him, that we have no freedom of choice. Everything is predetermined. And when we're talking about this journey of Lech Lecha, and we've said it's a physical journey, it's also the journey of our neural pathways, of these parts of us that are such an important there's such important elements in our life. And so when somebody says that everything is determined according to your genes, your environment, all of them are going to play a part. So actually you have no freedom of choice. If somebody if somebody commits a crime, that's because they have been wired up in a certain way. And in that respect, we should actually be very compassionate, and perhaps you may need to protect other human beings, but there shouldn't be the element of guilt that's normally ascribed to these types of actions. The Gemara teaches us in the Brachos 33b, Lamed Gimel Omid Beis, that we have that Hakol min hashamayim. So actually, the Gemara is not a million miles away from the view of this particular academic, but this is qualified. So Akol min hashamayim, everything is ordained, decreed by heaven, chutz miyiras shamayim, besides the fear of heaven. And it is this crucial exception, this decision whether or not we fear Hashem. When we say fear, we, learning from Avraham Avinu, who was able to work out that the world was not just a random, coincidental occurrence after a big bang or some other cataclysmic event, but a carefully planned structure by a creator, an infinite creator beyond our comprehension, who continues to be involved in every aspect of our lives. And Avraham Avinu is trailblazing in this way as well. He has gone on this journey of discovery by observing phenomena around him, by incorporating these into his life, by deducing a moral code that is going to enable humanity to be its best, that as part of the creation, earn its place at the top of creation. And so I think that we need to have the rather than the sort of 100% deterministic view that we are powerless and there is no freedom of choice, to understand that freedom of choice is definitely limited, but in this crucial area of Yiras Shamayim, of fear of Hashem, which can influence all of our behavior, our urges, our more distant environment, our more immediate environment, and enable us to overcome all of these. And I think that as we are going through these times, when we are able to tap into this eternal form and foundation of strength and the character traits of Avraham Avinu that is going to feature from this point onwards, and remembering the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that we refer to in chapter 1, Mishnah 2, and we said that Al Shlosha Devarim Ha'olam Omeid, the world stands on three things: Al HaTorah, Va'al HaAvodah, and Va'al Gemilas Chasodim. On Torah, on the learning of Torah, and the service, originally the service in the divine temple, and on acts of kindness. And we mentioned that this is a way of elevating humanity, elevating the world. But I think in this week's Sedra, this was said by Shimon HaTzadik, from the Anshe Knesset HaGdola, from the Men of the Great Assembly. So these things, these three pillars of the world, and a pillar is Amud, and we also have the world is standing on them, are also associated with our three fathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Torah is associated with Yaakov Avinu, and Avodah, the service in the temple, which we now know is prayer, is associated with Yitzchak, our father. And Chesed, Gemilas Chasodim, is something that we associate, that we associate with Avraham Avinu. And the very interesting Rashi on the pasuk that follows, of the one that I just read out, that and I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. And Rashi on this verse, on the words V'heyei bracha, and you will be a blessing, says to Avraham Avinu that all of the fathers have a contribution, but the blessing that refers to them is going to conclude, is going to be sealed with you. And this is actually the first blessing in the standing prayer in the Amidah that we say. And it reads as follows: Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei Avosenu. Blessed are you, Lord our God and God of our fathers, God of Avraham, God of Yitzchak, God of Yaakov, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibar, the great and mighty and awesome God, El Elyon, God Most High, Gomel Chasodim Tovim, who carries out acts of good kindness, V'koneh Hakol, and acquires everything, it's the owner of everything, V'zocher Chasdei Avos, and remembers the kindnesses of our fathers, Umevi Goel Livnehem Leman Shmo Bahava, and brings redemption to the sons of their sons for his name with love. Melech Ozer Umashiach Magain, King who helps, who saves, and who protects. And we daven very fervently for all of these at all times, but especially now. Baruch atah Hashem Mogain Avraham. Blessed art you, Hashem, shield of Avraham. And so this blessing concludes with the mention of Avraham Avinu alone. And this is the message of Rashi here, that B'cha Chosmin, that the seal, as it were, of this blessing is not with all three of the fathers, but with Avraham alone. And the concept of a seal, if we can just focus on that a seal is something that after you've finished the contents of a letter and you put it, in the olden times there was a waxen seal, or today in the letters that we barely write, there is an envelope that you can stick down. But there is an assumption that once a communication has a seal on it, that its contents are going to have full credibility, that we can rely on what's inside, that it won't be tampered with, because we'll be able to see if the seal has been broken. And if it hasn't been broken, if the seal is intact, then we are able to rely on the contents. And Avraham Avinu, with his seal of Chesed, is the emblem of how we are able to rely on the contents of of Yitzchak, of Yaakov, of the concepts of Avodah and Torah that follow. But it is the seal of Chesed that again we see an awakening and regeneration, and the amount of chesed that is being practiced and spread throughout the whole Jewish world as we all come together to pray and do as much practical help, give as much practical help as possible at this time. We see this deluge of chesed, and really this is something that we can get from Avraham Avinu, and we can just absorb that our history, that blessing from the personality and life of Avraham Avinu. But I think that if we look at the words of the first pasuk that I read out, when Hashem says that Avraham needs to get up and leave his environment, leave his internal fixed places that perhaps might prevent him serving Hashem fully, and go. And although there is a specific land, there are geographical coordinates. At this point, Hashem doesn't mention them. He says, El ha'oretz asher areka, to the land that I will show you. And I think this is, again, such a timely message for us today, as on the one hand, there is such uncertainty and the anxiety that one can often feel when one is confronting the reality that we are so out of control and things can change from one moment to the next. What Hashem is telling us, perhaps with these words, to the land that I will show you, that Hashem is the divine guide, that he has the map, he has the compass, and we are following his instructions. So actually there is absolute certainty, but we just don't know it. And so as long as we put all our faith and trust in Hashem, we do not need to feel that intense anxiety that perhaps might be a natural response to everything that is happening now. But Hashem is showing us, Hashem is comforting us, Hashem is giving us the tools, and we just have to know that Hashem is showing us where we're going to go. And that is the most important thing for us to remember at this point. And again, I think as we fight a battle on all fronts, not just in the south and potentially the north of Israel, on the public relations, on the words that are being said around the world. I think we have to look at the Psukim 3 and 4 of this week's Sedra, among others. And Hashem continues, Va'avarcha mavarechecha, and I will bless those that bless you. Umakalelcha a'or, and those that curse you, I will curse. V'nivrachu v'cha kol mishpachos ha'adama, and all the families of the world will be blessed through you. And I think that these are the words that we need to internalize and we need to interpret and we need to make relevant to all times of our life, but especially now. And please God, we should all merit to see the revelation of Hashem's presence in the world and the salvation of Hashem for his people as we continue to carry out and follow the path that he has set for us and the way that he is showing us. Thank you very much for listening.